welcome to Klepp's Garage. I'm your host, Bruce, and today we're on location. We're at Darryl's garage, and we're going to learn today about this car here. And he's going to tell you about this. He went down to Florida at Kissimmee auction and bought it, and it's kind of a neat piece. He had a car like this when he was a kid. Now he's a little older. He wants another one, so we're going to talk about this car today. All right, so we're here today with Darryl, and Darryl, tell us about your car.
Well, what we have here is a 1965 Corvair Corsa, and what makes this car unique, it has the 180 horse turbo, which makes it a fairly rare Corvair.
Yeah, and they probably didn't make too many of the turbos, did they?
They made about 1,000, 1,500, something like that in the ballpark.
In that year?
In that year. And then 66, they made them also. So they only made the turbos and the Corsas for 2 years. And the Corsa was the top end of the Corvair line.
So this is a limited production car, pretty rare nowadays. This is a really clean one. We'll take you around and show you everything. Of course, I know what you want to see is the motor. We'll get to that. Because on these, the motor's in the back, not the front. So, was there any other specs on this car? This was a lot of firsts developed on this car.
Well, this is Chevrolet's first rear engine, flat, 6-cylinder, air-cooled engine. Yeah, it's a flat 6-cylinder. And this was basically, or to a Volkswagen, but Volkswagen had 4 cylinders. This has 6 cylinders. So they added 2 more cylinders to it.
Okay. All right, well, I'll tell you what. He's got a motor tore apart over here on the bench that he was working on. Let's show you what this motor looks like tore apart. All right, so Darryl's got about a 64.5.
65 Corsa.
Motor all tore apart. He had this one back in the day when he had a Corvair before. He got rid of the Corvair and the guy didn't want the motor.
Didn't want the motor.
So anyhow, he's had this sitting around for I don't know how many years.
40 years.
And he decided to get it out before he bought this car and go through it. I think that's why he got excited about this car. But we thought we'd show you what the motor looks like. So this is a 6-cylinder, 3 cylinders here, 3 cylinders here, opposed. So this is how it sits in the car. Transmission's back here. This would be the rear of the car. And so you have 6 cylinders going this way. And air-cooled.
Air-cooled.
So this apparatus sits on top of here. And then there's a cover that goes on this, because you don't see hardly any of this motor. So this will spin and cools the motor. And then it also cools this.
That's an oil cooler to keep the oil cool in the car.
And that mounts right in.
Mounts right in here.
Yeah. So that's what that does. And so the regular Corvair had a single carburetor. Or no,
2 carburetors.
2. This
one has 4.
The regular one had 2 carburetors on each side. This one came with 4. 2 here, 2 here. And then the one he bought is a single carburetor turbocharged. So we'll look at that. But
so the normal Corvair is 110 horse. This is 140 horse with 4 carburetors. And the turbocharged is 180 horse, which is very rare to find.
Yeah. So it's amazing how much horsepower you can get out of these. And this is really the same design as the Volkswagen. Just used a 4-cylinder. And then the Honda Goldwing had the same thing. They started out with a 4-cylinder. They went to a 6-cylinder. It's the same opposed motor. The Porsche engine, they had a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder. Same design, so it's a very durable design. It was a very good motor.
This engine can also be aircraft certified, and a lot of them were used on airboats down in the Everglades.
Oh, in Florida?
In Florida, in the Everglades.
So these are still running.
This is the engine of choice for an airboat.
Yeah, and so they're certified.
They're certified
for
FAA. FAA has certified them for aircraft use.
Well, you know it's got to be a good motor. So you was telling me that a guy by the name of Don Yanko took these and made more horsepower.
He made more horsepower. He ordered 100 Corvair Corsas, removed the badging from them, done some modifications on them, and he had the Stage 1, which is 190 horse. He had the Stage 2, which I believe is 225 horse, and the Stage 4 was 250 horse. And the 250 horse was one bad car.
Yeah, all out of this little motor here that you can really just pick up, you know, and just throw it right in the car. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, the weight of the engine's somewhere around 300 pounds, fully assembled.
Yeah, 'cause this is aluminum block, correct?
Correct.
And then got cast iron jugs. And the head's aluminum?
The heads are aluminum, and on the turbo, they put aluminum fins on the cast iron sleeve.
Okay. Let's keep that heat down. So, and then you said Don Yanko, of course, went on to the Camaro. And
Yes. Yeah, this was the beginning for Don Yanko. He done the Camaros, the Chevelles, and then he done a 72 and 73 Vega Stinger.
He did the Vega.
He done a Vega, yes. And I ran across one, was in the Air Force down in Seymour Johnson in North Carolina. And I never heard of a Stinger, so it was new to me.
Yeah, so they did a lot of high horsepower in lightweight cars back in the day. That was the deal. More horsepower and lighter weight car. So we'll take a look at this one over here now. All right, Darryl, let's look at the trunk and see what you got in the trunk.
There's going to be a surprise here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprise!
Why, there's no suitcases at all in there. Yeah, so this is a rear engine car. 6-cylinder pancake motor, 1 carburetor, turbo, and the sticker, 180 horsepower. That's pretty impressive for back in the day. What else have we got to know about this, Darryl?
Well, this was the first year for the alternator on the Corvair. Just about all the 65 cars did go to an alternator. And this car actually beat the Porsche on the racetrack. And that was unique for a rear engine car made in America with European style and European design to actually compete in the European market.
Yeah, so really a compact, lightweight car. Any idea what this car weighs?
2,500 pounds.
2,500 pounds. So the power to weight ratio in this car is phenomenal. And there was some lawyer guy back in the day that just ruined these cars. I think there was a book, Unsafe at Any Speed, but I wouldn't read it. Anyhow, they're still a neat car. They're still a piece of Americana. All right, so we're inside, and I'll have Darryl talk a little bit about it. Right here, down here is your shifter. So this is a 4-speed car?
4-speed car, and it's got a short shift pattern on it. So it's not real big, but it's a fast shift transmission.
And 4-speed would be direct and fourth. It's not an overdrive, correct?
No, it'd be direct and fourth.
So gauge pack. I'll see if we can zoom in here on the gauge pack. So you got a tachometer, and what else you got there?
And the speedometer goes up to 140 on it.
That's conservative.
Yeah, it's got a temperature head cylinder. Since it doesn't have a radiator, you monitor the cylinder head temperature. And down here, it has the vacuum for the turbo, and then there's a gas gauge along with a really, really nice tachometer on it.
Then you get your standard, is that AM radio?
AM radio is standard.
Oh, an ashtray. Always got to have an ashtray.
Oh, it's never been used.
Well, look at that.
Never been smoked in.
This car's been driven by a little old lady to church on Sundays. And in a glove box.
Which is has the Corsa badging on it.
Yeah, old cup holders. See that? This is the old style cup holder. See that little indent? So you went to the drive-in and you set your cup there and ate your food. You didn't drive down the road that way. Well, Darryl, so tell us what you like about this car.
Well, I like the styling, the engineering. It's just a fun car to drive. And Ed Cole is the creator of the Corvair, and I think he really done a great job. He got a lot of things right. In 1965, the Corvair was re-engineered, and it was totally changed from the ground up. And Corvair was one of the first production cars to have four-wheel independent suspension on it, which was revolutionary at that time. Later on, the Corvettes went to four-wheel independent suspension. So it's just a great fun car, and it's very, very affordable.
So Darryl's looking forward to getting this out here when they get the salt off the roads, and we'll do a longer video with it running. Well, that's going to do it for this exciting episode of Klepp's Garage. However, we're in Darryl's garage today because we're doing the segment, What's in Your Garage? And today was the 65 Corvair.
Well, thanks, Bruce. We appreciate you coming by and doing the filming for us.
And remember, drive them if you got them. All right, so this, Darryl actually got off of me. This was laying in my outdoor gravel parking lot. I got it from somewhere. It is a Ford Flathead 60 horse, correct?
60 horse.
So it's the small version. They put them in 37, 38 to 40 in a small size car, and this was supposed to get better fuel mileage. So you tell them what you done to it.
Well, basically what we done, we took a pile of rust and we cleaned it up. And I had a friend of mine, Roy Kane, which has worked on engines for quite a while. And the unique thing about this 60 horse was this was run in sprint cars.
Yeah, they run a lot of these in sprint cars.
Because of the lightweight, and running them in sprint cars, a lot of them got blown up and damaged, and it made them very rare. So getting one of these 60 horse engines is like pulling hen's teeth. So Roy and I got this, started tearing it down. We sandblasted all the parts, cleaned it up, and we was probably going to have a hard time finding parts to rebuild it. And Roy happened to find a guy up in Crigersville, Ohio, that used to work on these. And the old gentleman had the sleeves, the pistons. He had everything we need to rebuild this engine. So that was a big help in building this. And the biggest problem with building a production V8 was the water pump on it. And Henry Ford came up with the idea of putting a water pump on each side of the engine, which is on this side and on this side. So
that's why it has the twin cooling tubes, top and bottom.
And bottom. So this radiator has 4 outlets, 2 outlets in the top and 2 outlets in the bottom because of the fuel pump. So later on they figured out a way to remanufacture and only put 1 fuel pump on it. But this was cutting edge technology back in its day.
Now when I got this motor, it came with this radiator because they're so unique, and it came with the carburetor, it didn't have a generator. But one thing we're going to show you, come on in here and zoom in. This has a sheet metal sides that are, I guess,
tin sides. They call them tin
sides. Side. So this covers the valve area, I guess?
This covers the water jacket.
Water jacket. This is on both sides, and this is actually made out of sheet metal. So if this rusts out, well, you're in trouble. So Darryl, let's see if this thing runs. You had it running here earlier.
Okay, we'll see what we got here.
Harley Davidson mufflers, nothing but the best. These motors were known for being very quiet and very smooth. A lot of guys said you could take a nickel and turn it on its edge and set it up there and it'll sit there because there's no vibration to these motors. So very unique piece, and I do have another friend that has one of these with a transmission. It's just aching to be put down in something. I won't mention any names, John, but anyhow, he needs to donate that to the Klepp's Garage. So what else we got over here? You got a T sitting over here.
Yeah, I got a 23T Doctor's Coupe. And the unique thing about this particular Doctor's Coupe is it has suicide doors on it.
Oh,
And 23 was the last year for suicide doors. So probably 90% of the T's that you see that are doctor's coupes will have conventional doors on them. So I was very fortunate to get this. I was in the expediting business, and I was up in the Cleveland area, and I took a shortcut and happened to see this sitting along the road. And I went up to Cleveland to make my delivery, and boy, I just kept thinking about that and thinking about it. So I came back the same way I went up, and I drove by the car, and I thought, you know, I need to go back and look at that. And by the time I decided to go back and look at it, it was already 20 miles down the road. So I go back, and it's about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I talked to the guy, and we finally put a deal together where I could purchase it. And I came back up a few days later with a trailer and trailered it home. And this car had sit for 10 years and hadn't been running. And I called my dear old friend Bruce from Klep's Garage, and he came over and he got it running. It had a stuck valve in it.
It's like the second or third T I've worked on the last year that had stuck valves. Oh well. Hey, the reason why they call these suicide doors is if you have to open these going down the road, it could just, the wind sucks them open, and if you're hanging on to it, it can pull you right out. Although, I don't think a Model T is going to get going that fast, but I do have a four-door Lincoln Continental from '61 that it would go fast enough to suck you out of the back end. Yeah, nice piece here, Darryl. This makes you a good cruiser.
It's very nice because it's a closed cab. It's warm. In the summer, you open these windshields up, and you got air conditioning.
Air conditioning in 1920s? Oh
yeah.
my!
Unscrew that one over there. See the windshield's tilted out on it. Loosen that up over there.
Yeah.
And then this comes out. And boy, it's nice and cool in the summer, and it's nice and warm in the winter.
And this bottom one will actually tilt in to get air on your feet.
Yeah, this puts...
So it can tilt down, and this will get air down on your feet.
Because in the summertime, you get a lot of engine heat from the cowl, and you can open this up, and boy, it's really a nice, comfortable car. If it's raining, you don't get wet. If it's cold, the engine heat keeps you warm, so it's just a nice touring car.
I got another friend of mine, Tom, that has a coupe there, a suicide door, and he's got the straps off of it. The doors open all the way up to the back, and he puts a bungee cord between them. He just leaves the doors open summertime driving. Well, I think that's going to do it for now. We'll see you next time. Oh, for God's sakes.
I got it.
Are you filming this? Looks like bonus material to me. We got to get this string out of the way.
Here.
Oh, Darryl's got it.
I thought I had it.
This might take all night. Is that out of the shot now? Let's try this again.